Hello, my name is Kyryl, and today I will review a video about programmer thoughts on the pirate software versus coding Jesus debacle. And I found this video today at the morning, and I decided that it would be pretty interesting to talk about this and basically say my thoughts about this whole situation. And yeah, and one thing that I want to emphasize is that I'm a programmer, and I was working at Microsoft for 25 years, and I saw millions, billions lines of code, and I had experience with Windows XP and with Microsoft Azure. So yeah, let's watch the video.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? I just want to do this quick review.
In the quantitative trading space.
Studio Pirate Software, by the same name, it's an indie studio.
About any of this? Well, I'm a C++ developer with 5 years of experience in the quantitative trading space. I've read dozens of books on C++ and over half a dozen books just on C++ design, from influencers in the space to professors. Pretty like
It's really good that you've read a lot of those.
bad practice if I
It's really good that you've read a lot of those books, but there's also a thing called information overload, which I think can have a negative effect on a developer sometimes. You could read one book, the Dennis Ritchie on C programming, and dish out a bunch of really good code. Or you could be somebody that read C++ books and you could dish out really bad code. Or you could be somebody that hasn't read any books at all and just watched the Cherno project on YouTube for 10 years, and you could be a master programmer. It's really a cumulative effect on your knowledge and experience in the industry as a whole, not necessarily how many books that you read, if that makes sense.
So yeah, I just skipped a little bit of the video, and what I want to say, this is not necessarily to read all these books, but what I really want to say is that it is probably recommended to read at least one book about the architecture and, for example, about the um, design patterns or kind of like this, because this is important. Like, okay, programming languages are always a tool, and if you will use this tool in the wrong way, it will cause a lot of problems in the future when the project is actually growing up and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I would recommend to actually just get familiar with all kind of architectural ideas, and they will actually help you. Yes, and not only read books. You can always watch videos on YouTube where people are discussing all these topics, and this is not a bad idea. But yeah, kind of. But you can actually watch TikTok and just use vibe coding. Why not?
see one. At least I hope.
That's my first kind of gripe or response to the video. Let's go to
Below. I recommend people actually download these VODs before he takes them down, because honestly, if I was claiming I'm a game developer with 20 years of experience, this would be embarrassing to have online. Let's take a look at what's really wrong about this, and I don't even need to be a game dev to understand that. When you look at the code here,
yes. I think it's important to be a game dev here because a lot of these game engines have their own dynamically compiled languages that all kind of interact differently with certain code. So it's important to have that as a context in the back of your head.
what do you see?
This is actually, I can partially agree, but I think this is kind of the things that, well, you actually have to know the basics of programming and how to work with them, but it is also important to be familiar with the game development, because they kind of have their way of developing of the game, and but still, in case of the game maker, it like the part of the programming language is just a tool, and well, overall, the programming language is just a tool that you will use, and well, it is important to be good at programming and making games. So um, the thing that I want to say is that you have to be familiar with both of things, but even if you don't know that good uh, game development, it is not the problem if you are good programmer.
See, you see a lot of magic numbers. That's an industry term for numbers that don't have any description or explanation as to what they are or why they exist. And you also
And this is kind of wrong here because there's some magic numbers here in the function parameter values. However, effect underscore drop and sprite underscore spark are references that GML gives you that access an object in the engine. For example, this is probably a sprite that's referencing a spark texture, and obviously right here effect drop is referencing the particle system that was created. And a lot of this code is seen throughout GML for 10 to 20 years. This same kind of code is probably in the Hotline Miami source code.
X4 means, for example,
So regarding that, even I'm not gonna argue about that is Hotline Miami is a bad game, because it's not. It's obviously not. It's a good game, but it is not the case why you should write the same code if it was written in Hotline Miami in the same way. So what does it mean? Is that if everyone writes the sheet code, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you have to actually write the same sheet code. You have to write a good code with the good practices, and it is not the case for that. And I don't agree with that statement, because it's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. Like, you have to. Well, it is a sheet code with the magic numbers, and it is okay because it was used um, in a Hotline Miami. No, this is not a best practice for writing the code, and we indeed see their magical numbers, magic numbers. Like, okay, size. I can assume this is like from 0 to 1. We are setting up the size. Yeah, but what does it mean? Like 0 0? I don't know. I have no idea what does it mean, like 0 and 0. Okay, part type life 15 15. Okay, I know that it is applies to effect drop, but I don't know what does these function parameters are for, because they're just numbers, some numbers, and I don't know what they are doing here. And this is kind of the problem. Okay, part type alpha 1, it is kind of understandable because it requires only one value from 0 to 1, I assume. I don't know exactly. And yeah, in part type gravity, we also see that this function applies to effect drop, but I don't know what does it mean. Is it the angle of direction where it should go, or is it a speed? What does it, like 0.1, what does it stands for? I don't know. And this is kind of the problem, that actually, why is that a problem, magical number? Because when you're getting back to your code and you just forget what you were writing, you don't know what you have done. This is the problem, and that's why you have to avoid magical numbers. So yeah, that's what I think about it.
unsigned 32-bit integer.
Okay, so for here he wants to use variables before we pass them into the function parameter for 5 here, so that this
To write question asks equals 42. In theory, that should be true, because anything other than 0 is true, but why even allow somebody to write
because it's a dynamically compiled language. That int could be anything. I think I haven't used a game maker engine, but in a while. But I'm pretty sure you can even convert that or set it to a string, and it would probably work.
Code that can
Um, this is kind of the problem because, well, GML has the separate value type for the booleans. So if you have them, it is recommended to use them. Well, because 0, okay, we can actually we know that this is a false and 1 is true, but the GML has the boolean values. Why don't you just use the boolean values for that? It will be more readable for you. It wouldn't be a problem if it's like, what if it becomes 2? Probably true. I don't know. But anyway, I think this is important to just use the language's features, even if it's dynamically typed language. Yes, I think even if it's dynamically typed language, you have to use the right types. In that case, we have to use Boolean types, but instead, the pirate software uses here integer, which is not that, I don't know, it's just not readable. And yeah, anyway, in that case, it would be better if Game Maker just moved to Kyryl script, because Kyryl script is statically typed programming language, and it doesn't have kind of these problems. So yeah, let's continue.
potentially be that confusing.
It's not statically typed, so I don't think he's understanding that.
Just a no-go. Another thing here that I noticed is the absurd amount of comments.
Yeah, the comments is kind of true. There's some redundancy there, but it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, you could probably remove some of these.
Yeah, comments are actually a problem here. Usually when you see the comments inside of the logic part of the code, that usually means that the code is bad and it's quite hard to read it. So in order to just prevent this, developers just comment the uncertain part of the code. And this is a bad practice because code should explain itself what it does. In that case, I would say this is just a bad practice for that.
Most of the time, you make a simple
Keep
if
going.
statement and a statement for we have asked the question and question asks equals 1.
Yeah, let's
Question
keep that.
next.
For that it's Shelly, which is presumably a game character. Imagine removing all these comments. Would you, as a newly added game developer to his game project, have any idea that 1 is Shelly?
That's the thing, though. It's not really going to be any new devs. This is just his hobby project.
I don't agree with that. It is important to use the best practices in programming, even though this is just your personal project. It doesn't matter. Is it a production or personal? I know this game that Pirate Software develop. This is this game has its own community, and as far as I know, this game has been in development for 8 years, and the community has been waiting for the release of the game for 8 years. And when in that case, when you have a community, the people who are actually waiting for that, and it is, I think this is important to just make the game that will consider the future grow of the project. So it doesn't matter. Just when you are making your personal project, always ask yourself, what if another person would read this code? What if another person would use your project? And this is, I think, a great way of programming, of coding, yeah, for creating the project, the logic of the code. And yeah, it doesn't matter if you're developing the personal project or you're just making the production code, they should use the best practices in coding.
You would have no idea. This would never ever be allowed in a production repository. And
It's not really a production enterprise kind of game. It's just a hobby dev thing that he's working on.
I've been hinting, it's below what you'd expect of a bottom tier intern. One way to improve this,
I think that's kind of an overreach. A bottom tier intern. I don't agree with that at all. I think the Pirate Software guy has been a coder for 15 or 20 years. I'm sure he knows about named, constants, enums, readability, and all that jazz.
He'll forget it. He'll instantly forget it when he'll go on vacation and will not develop the game. He will waste a lot of time to read again his code, and I'm pretty sure that his code base is pretty big, considering the time this game was in development. And yeah, it's kind of sucks to return to this kind of code and like you're just wasting more and time to make a game. The same thing we had with Yandere Dev that has never released and in constant development because the code is not maintainable. And even if it's a personal project, people are waiting, and at the end I think they will get a pretty short experience. So I don't know, like it's just not it's in hobby projects you have to consider it to write good code. I mean, use the best practices in coding, and no matter what kind of project you have.
He doesn't have to worry about production environment. It's his hobby project. It's his game. He compiles the GML and compiles his game from GameMaker, and then he ships it on Steam. He's the producer. It's his production environment. So